Tonight, a little boy killed, his sister fighting for life. A dad tells of his heartbreak after a horror crash in the state's southeast as friends rally to help the grieving family.
Is Adelaide's youth-fuelled crime spiralling out of control? A woman attacked in her home, leaving residents fearful and fed up.
Developing tonight, why this prison worker is accused of blackmail and how his arrest is linked to Adelaide's illegal tobacco trade.
Left in limbo, a Western Suburbs hospital's uncertain future leaves 200 cancer patients without answers.
And touchdown, a major international airline back in town after a pandemic pause.
This is Adelaide's 9 News with Kate Collins and Brenton Ragless.
Good evening. A 5-year-old boy has died and a teenage girl is tonight fighting for life in hospital after a horror crash in the state's southeast.
The heartbroken parents are right now split between 2 hospitals, 5 hours apart, watching over 3 of their children still in the hands of doctors.
A scene of devastation and destruction. This is the aftermath of a tragic chain reaction crash that ended with the death of a 5-year-old boy named Isaac Eichenberg.
Very adventurous, always on the go, always playful, happy, always wanting just to talk and have fun.
Tara Button, who's known the Eichenberg family for 15 years, describing her utter shock with 15-year-old Keziah tonight in a critical condition, while 2 more of the siblings, aged 6 and 13, are also in hospital for minor injuries.
I'm trying not to cry at the moment, so I'm trying to keep it all together. But I know it'll hit me at one stage.
The crash happened in the state's southeast on the Riddick Highway south of Nangwarry just after 2:30 p.m. yesterday. Police say a black Holden sedan collided with an emu, causing the family's grey Toyota sedan to brake suddenly too, but then another car crashed into the back of them. Today, the Eichenbergs' loyal friends setting up a GoFundMe page to help support the family, who've been hit hard this month, after the children's father, Chris, was made redundant from his job just 2 weeks ago.
When I heard the news, I'm like, we need everybody in the community to just get behind them and support.
Speaking from Mount Gambier's hospital today, Chris told 9 News, "I can't thank the emergency services enough. They've done a fantastic job. My nurses have gone above and beyond." Paula flew from Mount Gambier to Adelaide. She's now here at the hospital, maintaining a vigil by her daughter's bedside.
We're a connected community and we're there to support you however we can.
No one from the other 2 cars was seriously injured. Kelly Hughes, 9 News.
A teenager charged over the bashing of a 68-year-old woman in her Mitchell Park home has fronted court for the first time as chilling new details emerged about the sickening attack. A high-profile relative of the victim today detailed her shocking injuries, while residents near the crime scene called for more to be done to address youth crime.
Jim Hendry is looking after his neighbour's dog because she's in hospital having been bashed with a garden stake.
That's what neighbours do for one another. That's how it should be. You know, not bozos like this walking around thinking that, they run the neighbourhood.
This teenager was allegedly among a gang that carried out the attack on Malden Avenue in the early hours of Saturday morning. A relative of the victim, radio presenter Stacey Lee, today revealing just how serious it was.
She's got scars and bruises and gashes on her face. She has some injuries to her hand and wrist, so she's been in hospital all weekend and is awaiting surgery.
Police are still searching for others who were involved in the violent attack, which was just one of several involving youths over the past 7 days. But the Premier denies youth crime is an escalating problem.
What we saw in the most recent crime data is that crime has actually gone down in a whole suite of areas in South Australia.
Jim says on his street, residents are concerned for their neighbour and frightened about what might happen next.
Probably up their own security a little bit as well, for their own satisfaction, It's just horrible, horrible.
The 17-year-old fronted the youth court, charged with several offences, including aggravated assault. He didn't apply for bail and will remain behind bars until his next appearance next month. Inga Nielsen, 9 News.
An officer who works at the Adelaide Remand Centre has been arrested, accused of blackmailing the owner of a tobacco store. Gus McDonald was at court, and Gus, police believe it's related to the tobacco turf war.
Yeah, they do, Brenton. This afternoon, 28-year-old Corey Shara faced court, accused of blackmailing the owner of a South Brighton smoke shop. Shara was arrested on Saturday after graffiti and a note was found on the premises of the smoke shop on Friday morning. He's now been with the remand centre for 3 years and holds the position of an emergency responder, meaning he is called upon during violence or medical emergencies. The courtie has no prior history or any gang association and is a long-time player at the Fitzroy Football Club. His family were in court today to support him, but they did refuse to speak as they left. The prosecution argued against bail, citing safety concerns for the victim and risk that evidence could be destroyed. Despite that, Shara was granted a release from custody today, and Kate, he'll return to court next year.
Gus, thank you. A Hectorville family has had a narrow escape after the carport connected to their house collapsed. Emergency services were called to the Henry Street property just after 8 o'clock last night. A small excavator was under the crumpled structure, while a larger excavator was parked in the driveway. The SES was called in to shore up the house. No one was injured.
An elderly cancer sufferer says she's devastated about the closure of the Western Hospital's oncology unit, which will force her to find somewhere else to go for treatment. Today it was revealed she's just one of around 200 patients in limbo as administrators scramble to find a solution.
From the state's mid-north, Margaret Rankin has been travelling to the Western Hospital for chemotherapy treatment for the past 7 years.
Oh, they've become part of the family. Like, the nurses are just absolutely fantastic. The oncologist is great. I couldn't say one word against them, but they've saved my life.
But the 74-year-old breast cancer patient will now need to go elsewhere, having been told by a nurse the oncology unit is closing.
She told me then that would be the last treatment. And as I got further into the hospital, they all said, well, it's goodbye.
On Friday, it was revealed a buyer for the oncology unit had fallen through and the clinic would be shut for good. It's understood patients will still be able to access consultations at the site, but won't be able to access chemotherapy.
It will be the task of the administrator and the oncologists to organise alternative services and treatments for their patients.
The administrators say Western Hospital is reaching out to patients individually to make the transition to a new provider. It's expected everyone affected will have been contacted by the end of Thursday.
I've made it clear to the administrator as recently as this morning that we expect that this be done very quickly. And that those patients and their treatment is the first concern.
Margaret now awaiting that phone call.
If I go somewhere like Lowell Mac or somewhere like that, therefore I have to get another oncologist, which I'm not that keen on. I'll just have to do with what goes.
A buyer for the remainder of the hospital set to be announced by the end of the week. Ollie Haig, 9 News.
Well, one of the world's biggest airlines makes its return to South Australia tonight. Emirates relaunching its daily service between Adelaide and Dubai. Samantha Hogan is live at Adelaide Airport, and Sam, the first flight is due there very soon.
Yes, Kate, we're just under 3 hours away from touchdown. The Boeing 777 will have travelled just over 12 hours from Dubai and is set to fly back there with a load of passengers at around 10:40 tonight. It's great news for travellers, with the extra services set to spark a price war between rival airlines such as Qatar and likely drive down international ticket prices.
A major airline like Emirates and a record like they have, and the service that we all know that they provide, absolutely. Going overseas is just a little bit easier and maybe more economical.
I think people can get a little bit cheaper flights, which I think's been over the top. So hopefully it's all good.
Emirates hasn't been seen here in Adelaide since March 2020, ceasing its services after the COVID-19 outbreak. The airline's return a major milestone for the state's pandemic recovery, important not just for passengers but also exports for business, estimated to generate up to $62 million for our state's economy and create up to 300 jobs. Brenton?
Great news, Sam. Thank you. An Adelaide woman who violently attacked a police officer over the wearing of face masks has been described as a victim of her own grief. Today, a court heard she began a lengthy crusade against vaccinations after the sudden death of her infant son.
She left court calmly this morning, but Rehn Cruz is known to turn violent. This is her unleashing on a young female police officer during an alcohol-fuelled tirade on Rundle Street in 2021.
Don't touch me! Don't you touch me!
The attack left Constable Anthea Beck with parts of her scalp ripped from her head. Today, she fronted her attacker, revealing to the court she was pregnant during the assault, telling Cruz, "When you kicked me, you kicked my baby too." Cruz, a mother of four, breaking her silence as she left the hearing.
I've been told not to say anything, but yeah, shocked. I feel empathy for her. Mothers care about children and it's awful.
The court heard in 2003 Cruz's 2-month-old son died from sudden infant death syndrome less than a day after being given standard childhood vaccinations. Her lawyer says that triggered her anti-vax beliefs and a failed campaign to join the Senate. A drunken night out at the Exeter then turned violent 3 years ago. A disagreement over face masks leading Cruz to assault Constable Anthea and 2 security guards, one detailing how she grabbed at his neck and tried to twist his windpipe. The court heard Cruz also developed a grief disorder as a result of losing her son, and that condition has at times fueled her outbursts. The defence, confident Cruz is willing to get help, asking she be given a suspended prison sentence. She'll return to court for sentencing in December. Shannon McDonald, 9 News.
The driver responsible for a deadly hit run on the Northern Expressway near Gawler has been spared jail time. Cooper McGinley had drugs in his system when he struck and killed 44-year-old mother Jennifer Thompson in June 2021 before fleeing the scene. The victim had been standing near the road at the time of the impact, having crashed her own car while under the influence of alcohol.
It is a tragic case for everyone involved, the victim's family, but also Mr McGinley.
McGinley was today given a 10-month suspended sentence and is also banned from driving for 10 years.
A world-leading defence facility has opened at Woodville North. The $31 million building will house more than 100 engineers and technical experts who will be working on the Collins-class submarines, Hunter-class frigates and future AUKUS projects.
What we have here is we have a 6,000 square metre facility for our office and manufacturing, as well as a 4-fold increase on our warehousing storage facility.
The building will be fully operational by the end of the year.
The Albanese government is planning a new wave of cost of living relief off the back of Labor's loss in Queensland. Treasurer Jim Chalmers today acknowledged pressure on household budgets contributed to the weekend's election result.
Anthony Albanese is only a few miles from his own date with voters. But of all the offerings from Queensland Labor, it was super cheap public transport that got cut through. 50-cent fares, even embraced by the new Premier, the Federal Treasurer, acknowledging the lesson.
We understand that people are doing it tough. We understand that people often express that at the ballot box, which is their right.
If you run up huge debt, you mismanage the economy, you create a cost of living crisis, you can expect for the electorate to punish you.
Jim Chalmers has all but confirmed there'll be more cost of living relief in the months ahead, but insists it'll be responsible.
This election was never going to be, from our side, a free-for-all of public spending. It wasn't going to be before Saturday's outcome, and it's not going to be after Saturday's outcome.
Then again, Treasurers always look at the financial ledger, whereas Prime Ministers look at the political balance sheet and what can be done to improve it. Anthony Albanese facing turbulence over revelations he's received 22 flight upgrades over the years, some for private travel after contacting former Qantas boss Alan Joyce. Many MPs receive flight upgrades. Peter Dutton's benefited from 15 for domestic and international trips.
None of which happened as a result of me calling my best friend Alan Joyce at Qantas.
Has the Prime Minister complied diligently, transparently, consistently about declaring any upgrades? Yes, he has.
Andrew Probyn, 9 News.
Gamblers who feel they're at risk of harm can now ban themselves from gambling venues within minutes. The state government is trialling an initiative that will allow people to take a break with the simple scan of a QR code.
It will take you through to a simple form. It takes you 2 minutes to fill out the form to either ban yourself from a particular venue or ban yourself more broadly.
The trial began today in 31 venues across the state and will continue for 30 days.
A houseboat full of interstate tourists has become wedged under the Paringa Bridge on the River Murray. Emergency services from nearby Rehn were called to deal with the driver's major miscalculation. After around an hour, the vessel was freed and the tourists able to continue their journey.
Some big names have gathered to kick off the Melbourne Cup Carnival. Eddie Maguire and racing royalty Francesca Kimani launching this year's event at Flemington. Cup-winning jockey Michelle Payne and four-time Olympic gold medalist Ariane Titmus making a surprise entrance on stage.
There's nothing like it. Melbourne comes alive with racing and all the best horses are here from around the world and the best jockeys, and it doesn't get any better than this.
All the action kicks off this Saturday with Derby Day.
And Tom read an early win for our Jamie Carr.
Yeah, for a wildcard it looked like she'd be without a cup ride, but thankfully the dream is back on, which is great news. We're going to hear from South Australia's star jockey a little later in sport. Also tonight, Caleb Daniels' frank admission as to why he left the kennel. He's already fitting in at the Ruse. Max Verstappen goes a little loco in Mexico and pays the price. And the Hail Mary that sent American football into a frenzy.
Thanks, Reddy. Talk to you soon. Cracking down on a sick system.
Still to come tonight, revelations NDIS providers who harm participants to face $15 million fines. Those details are next.
Also, simple and effective, the blood test to better detect Alzheimer's.
And a little later, they've been priced out of the property markets, so where are younger Australians investing their money?
A young driver has been flown to hospital after his station wagon collided with a truck at Port Augusta West. The 24-year-old local man sustained serious injuries in the crash on the Air Highway just before 9 last night. The truck driver from Clearview has minor injuries. Major crash officers are investigating.
The federal government is ramping up its crackdown on dodgy NDIS providers with proposed new laws. The legislation includes multi-million-dollar fines for people and businesses that abuse or exploit those living with disabilities.
Bill Shorten has a message for people exploiting the NDIS.
Pack up your business model and get the next bus out of town now. This is not free government money. People with disability are not human ATMs.
The government coming after fraudsters and abusers, pushing to increase penalties from hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars.
If you, for your misconduct, harm and hurt a vulnerable person on the scheme, well, you could be risking fines of up to $15 million.
It isn't just misconduct. It's not just issues of overcharging. We do know that people's lives and bodies are in danger.
Already the government has dished out lifetime bans to more than 100 operators.
What do you have to say to the families?
Like Violetta Hanson, jailed for stealing and pawning jewellery from clients. Proposed legislation would extend those lifetime bans for operators to individual workers as well and give the NDIS Commission new powers to refer severe cases to police. But the opposition questioning why it didn't come sooner.
Bill Shorten's about to check out and all of a sudden he's got a bright idea. I don't understand what he's been doing for the last 2.5 years.
Well, if Peter Dutton's such a rear vision mirror expert about what should have been done, why didn't they do any of this?
We know that change like this takes time to see a really active, meaningful shift.
Legislation is expected before Parliament early next year. Amanda Cobb, 9 News.
A simple blood test could revolutionise the treatment of Alzheimer's. Researchers at Melbourne's Florey Institute have developed one they believe is more than 90% accurate in detecting the disease. Scientists say it can be performed on commonly available clinical pathology equipment. Expect it will only cost $100.
Heart disease is the leading cause of death among women, but it's often underdiagnosed and undertreated. Now researchers are hoping to change that using images taken from a routine test that women often have.
Rowena Newman has always prioritised her health.
I had mammograms, I had bowel screen, I did all of the things.
But at just 47, she suffered a sudden cardiac arrest, waking up in intensive care.
And it was a total shock. I had never thought that I would be someone who would have heart disease.
Now, researchers from the University of New South Wales and the George Institute for Global Health have developed a way to check a woman's risk of heart disease at the same time as having a mammogram.
So we know that women are 12% less likely to receive a heart check at their general practitioner than men. So this is a way to engage women in heart screening in a service that they are attending.
So this is our routine mammogram, right?
Dr. Lauren Houston and her team have now received funding to implement the technology, which uses artificial intelligence to identify calcium buildup within arteries in the breast. A trial is due to begin next year, first in New South Wales, followed by the rest of the country.
And then we use those images along with their age to predict if they're at risk of heart disease.
This is one of 66 pioneering research projects awarded almost $14 million by the Heart Foundation, an investment that will help save more lives from heart disease.
If we can combine these health appointments and make it easier for women to engage and access health services, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic step forward.
Kate Creedon, 9 News.
Grange primary school students who'd previously had a tour of Nine's Pirie Street studios today returned the favour. Kate and I were invited there this morning to check out their own new studio and media centre. We're very impressed to see their news bulletins and even learnt a thing or two ourselves. And given their passion, some of the kids might one day be presenting on our screens here at Nine. Well done.
We have no doubt about that. Well, from spooky surprises to a visit from the big man in red, there is a lot going on in Adelaide this week.
Jessica Braithwaite, the forecast couldn't be more important.
Oh, yes, Brenton, it's one of those weeks where everyone I see is asking me, what's the weather going to do? And the verdict is in. I can confirm that it is a shining forecast. We have lots going on. Of course, for anyone celebrating Halloween on Thursday, we're looking at a dry day and more importantly, a dry night for trick-or-treating. And then the big day on Saturday for our Christmas pageant. It's a warm one. We're looking at 33 degrees, so it'll be a warm morning. There's the slight chance of showers, but not until later in the day, and the showers are probably more likely to turn up on Sunday. So we've done very well with the timing there, and I've got all the details coming up with the full forecast a little bit later.
Wonderful to hear. Jessica, thank you. In the news ahead, back in the city that made him who he is.
Donald Trump packs out Madison Square Garden for a final presidential push ahead of polling day. We've got those details from the campaign next.
Also, illegal stock sends a shop fire exploding out of control.
And burgers are back on the menu after an E. coli scare at McDonald's in the United States.
Donald Trump has put on his biggest show of the campaign trail yet. The former president holding a mega rally at the iconic Madison Square Garden in the centre of New York City.
As we go to air tonight, more than 40 million Americans have already cast their votes in the closest election in the country's history.
Please welcome our next Commander-in-Chief, my husband.
In the heart of the Big Apple, in the stadium that's hosted the world's biggest acts, a rare appearance from former First Lady Melania for her showman ahead of his final showdown.
A very big hello to a special place. This will be America's new golden age.
New York City and America needs their magic back.
Donald Trump has long wanted to headline the Garden. Tonight, it was packed out as he delivered his closing arguments.
I'm asking you to be excited about the future of our country again.
There was a roll call of Trump's most dedicated.
Today, this is Donald Trump's house, brother.
They thought they could crush the man who built this city skyline.
As well as the world's richest man.
Put the signs up, put the hat on. Let's go.
For hours, fans waited in a sea of red, white and blue, lines snaking through New York in somewhat of a homecoming for one of the city's most famous former residents.
The reason people love Trump is he made politics entertaining. Like, when he talks, he might say some wild stuff,
but you could tell it's from the heart.
Why do you think he wanted to play Madison Square Garden?
It's his hometown, and it's a declaration too.
This is a blue state which almost certainly Donald Trump won't win, but today was about ticking one off his campaign bucket list and providing one of the most watched moments of this campaign.
But there were many speakers who drew criticism amid racist remarks and vitriol. The Harris campaign quick to showcase the difference.
There's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah, I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico is home to some of the most talented, innovative and ambitious people in our nation.
Kamala Harris in the swing states and focused on one of the most critical battlegrounds, Philadelphia. The VP on a day spent politicking in a church, a restaurant, a barber shop and a basketball court.
There is too much on the line, and we must not wake up the day after the election and have any regrets about what we could have done in these next 9 days.
Tonight, a battle for attention and a sprint to the end in an election like no other. At Madison Square Garden, Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
Israel's Prime Minister has been heckled at an October 7 memorial ceremony after declaring the country's airstrikes against Iran achieved its goals. But Iran's Supreme Leader claims Israel is exaggerating as Gaza ceasefire talks resume.
Grieving loved ones of October 7 victims, taking aim at Israel's Prime Minister. Shouting shame on you at Benjamin Netanyahu as he gave a speech at a memorial ceremony in Jerusalem. More than a year on, ceasefire talks are still just that. Now being held in Doha, Egypt's president has proposed a 2-day truce in Gaza, which would see 4 Israeli hostages and some Palestinian prisoners released. As deadly strikes continue, another school-turned-shelter in northern Gaza becoming a scene of devastation. While satellite images reveal the impact of the IDF strikes on Iranian military targets. Prime Minister Netanyahu proclaiming, "We severely damaged Iran's defence capacity and the ability to produce missiles aimed at us. The attack in Iran was precise and powerful and achieved all its goals." But Iran's Supreme Leader says, of course, they are exaggerating it. Their exaggeration is wrong, but note that downplaying this is wrong too, stopping short of pledging immediate retaliation. In northern Israel, Hezbollah rockets are still causing damage as the IDF fires its own into Lebanon, while the people on all sides wait for the violence to end. In London, Hannah Sinclair, 9 News.
Scrambling to safety, dozens of people at a wholesale firecracker store in India make it out just in time before the shop bursts into flames. Crackers could be seen exploding from streets away for nearly an hour. One woman suffered minor burns. Multiple cars parked outside the store also caught fire.
Well, quarter pounders are back on the menu at McDonald's stores across the US following an E. coli outbreak. The fast food chain believes onions are the culprit. McDonald's has removed them from their supply chain. Well, we've heard plenty about e-bike and scooter explosions.
But this latest device, Blaze, will shock you when 9 News returns the popular toy that erupted into flames. The warning to families next.
Also, Chris Kohler explains why young Aussies are turning their backs on home ownership to invest in stocks.
Why this American Airlines flight to Australia was today's most tracked journey in the world.
From laptops and mobile phones, reports of devices catching on fire are becoming a growing problem, largely due to the lithium-ion batteries. More volatile than traditional batteries, they can pose a serious fire risk, and you'll be surprised how many household items are powered by them.
This is the charred remains of a child's portable DVD player that caught fire after an hour of charging.
This was just engulfed in flames. So the screens here that was sitting here was on fire.
Isaac Aloa and his partner Juanita Mello were in bed when they heard popping noises in their kitchen.
The house roof was full of smoke that smelt like burning plastic.
The couple bought the DVD player to entertain their kids on long drives, and although they received a refund from the retailer, they're keen to warn others.
What if I had plugged the car charger in and it just exploded in front of their faces?
The risk is always there if you've got a lithium-ion battery.
Fire investigator Darren Maluk says last year almost 500 fires were caused by lithium-ion batteries in Australia.
When they do catch fire, they catch fire in quite a violent, energetic way.
Most rechargeable items are powered by lithium-ion batteries, including smartphones, laptops, power tools, vacuums, even electric toothbrushes and many kids' toys. And if they're not stored or charged correctly, they can pose a serious fire risk.
The byproducts from the fire, the off-gassing and the smoke is very toxic and also flammable.
To reduce the fire risk, always use the manufacturer's charger, unplug devices when fully charged, don't expose them to heat or moisture, and don't charge devices on couches or carpets.
We highly recommend people purchase them from reputable retailers. This way you know that they meet all the regulatory compliance in terms of the Australian standards.
And it's always best to charge devices when you're at home and awake, just in case.
And it was on fire. It was literally, this whole bench was on fire, and I picked it up and I just dropped it in the sink and turned the water on.
Michelle Tapper, 9 News.
From the Lone Star State to the Sunshine State in around 15 hours. American Airlines flight AA7 made history this morning, landing in Brisbane. Taking off from Dallas, Texas, the flight was the longest ever by American Airlines. Millions of aviation enthusiasts were watching along the way. For today, at least, the most tracked plane in the world.
Well, Australians, particularly young ones, are flooding into the share market in record-breaking numbers. A lack of housing affordability is part of the reason, but new data shows younger generations are investing differently to their parents.
Locked out of the property market, logged in to the share market, a shift that's come about through necessity.
They have to grow their overall wealth.
Young Australians are entering the world's stock markets in record numbers because while their savings might not be enough for a property deposit, they are still looking for returns.
Most of our parents and grandparents saw investing, particularly in equities, as risk, and a risk they weren't willing to take, whereas the younger generation sees it the other way around. They see it as the correct risk. In fact, they see it even less risky than things like property.
CommSec, the country's biggest trading platform, has reported a 37% spike in new accounts last financial year, now totalling nearly 3 million. And investors under the age of 40 now make up roughly half the total, the highest proportion to date. Head of CommSec, James Fowle, says younger investors are becoming significantly more active.
What we've seen is a change in the ease of getting into investing in the stock market. And the access to information for those investors is there as well.
And what older and younger Australians are buying, it's totally different. The top 5 most traded investments for over 40s are all direct share investments, mostly things like mining and resources companies. The top 5 most traded for under 40s, though, are all ETFs. They're bundles of shares traded together. It shows younger Aussies are playing it relatively safe.
So if there is some volatility or one company doesn't do as well, you're protected by being in that bundle.
It's about what they're going to see their money doing in 5 years' time.
And while that's never clear, over the last 5 years, the top investment for over 40s has gained 35%, while the top investment for under 40s has gained nearly 135%. Chris Kohler, 9 News.
The sport is up next with Tom Rehn, and the countdown's on for the Melbourne Cup Carnival, Tom.
Yeah, getting exciting, Kate. Just 5 days until the fans flock to Flemington, which is great. And up next, we check in with the big names, Gay Waterhouse, James Cummings and Jamie Carr. Not a bad trifecta. And as for our Jamie, well, she's all smiles with her Cup dream alive again. Also, the Lions set to unveil Levi. It's all in the genes. And Dwayne, statue. Hello again. Champion trainer Chris Waller will make his Melbourne Cup rivals wait as he mulls over a decision to run Cox Plate winner Via Sistina in the big race. But South Aussie Jamie Carr's situation is a lot clearer after finally locking in her spot.
The big names have arrived, some more hopeful about their cup chances than others. Just Fine is your crack at a second Melbourne Cup. Are you confident he can bounce back?
Well, after him running last, I'd say no. He went to Moonee Valley.
Good honesty, good honesty.
You'd swear he was on something when he was there the other night.
Jamie Carr will now ride Moonee Valley Gold Cup winner Akita Sushi for Kieran Ma after the Freemans withdrew Point King.
Heard the news and went, oh, you're kidding me. So disappointing because the horse I felt was going absolutely fantastic. But I'm very happy to straight away lock myself in with another decent ride.
James Cummings has Zardozi coming off a 4th place in the Caulfield Cup. Should Relish a return to Flemington?
Getting back to the scene of the crime where she won the VIC Oaks 12 months ago, I think she's a real runner's chance in this year's Cup.
There is, however, one name lingering over the field. You're a VRC ambassador, so would you like to see Via Sistina run in the Cup?
Well, no, because she'll beat us. Very, very good mare. And the way she won the Cox Plate, she just toyed with them in the Cox Plate.
The Cox Plate winner is among the 35 horses still in contention, but Chris Waller is adamant he won't be rushed into making a decision. Everything is looking ready to go for the carnival, but of course it is not just about the Cup. Derby Day kicks things off on Saturday, and while he's opted not to run broadsiding after a 3rd placing in the Cox Plate, James Cummings is still going to be a very busy man. Cummings is focused on getting Everest scratching traffic warden ready for the Coolmore Stud Stakes, which will give Carr a chance to start her carnival with a bang.
Hopefully Saturday I can just get another Group 1 on the board because I still got a few more to add to that tally.
Nathan Curry, 9 News.
Levi Ashcroft is ready to shoulder the pressure that comes with pick 1 should things pan out that way on draft night. The young gun also revealing his friendly rivalry with brother Will and how he can't wait to play alongside him at the Lions.
It's the father-son double act that'll make 17 rival clubs shudder.
For him to get an opportunity sometime next year, hopefully straight away, it'd be nice for his sake, but also for me.
It all becomes official in just over 3 weeks when the Lions call Levi's name, and potentially straight off the top, if the Tigers get involved.
I'm just excited to be playing for the Brisbane Lions one day and being with them in pre-season and next year.
In truth, the boys have already been on the MCG together, and on the biggest day of all. This clip of Levi scaling the fence to join the premiership celebrations, one of the many grand final day highlights.
I'd better just check with him, and then it was no worries. He got him on, and we can enjoy that. It was unbelievable to be able to get on the ground after and see him and some of the boys. It was such a special day. 2 brothers joined at the hip, except when it comes to friendly family battles. Very, very competitive in any sport we play or anything we're doing. Could be just cards at the family dinner table, and we're competitors in anything. The Ashcrofts are lending their support to the Movember cause, as is Magpies veteran Scott Pendlebury.
Yeah, well, I think it's just becoming bigger and bigger, isn't it, with guys getting more confident to speak up about how they're feeling.
Pendle's revealing he'll return to pre-season training early and with a few new teammates after the arrivals of Dan Houston and Harry Perriman.
I don't feel like contracts mean a hell of a lot. They're good for home loans, that's about it.
A big fan of how they do it in the States, he wants clubs to go even harder when pursuing targets during free agency.
Yeah, I'd like to see it become a little bit more ruthless.
Well, South Australia's Caleb Daniel admits his fall from grace at the Bulldogs hurt him deeply. The 28-year-old was today unveiled at North Melbourne following his trade in the final minutes of deadline day. Despite being part of the leadership group, Daniel says he fell out of favour at the Dogs after a lengthy VFL stint.
Last year didn't pan out my way, probably through form and sort of a lack of trust from sort of some of the coaching staff and some confidence issues in my own abilities.
Fortunately, he won't be alone at the Roos when it comes to wearing a helmet.
I think we got mixed up. Oh. Take that one.
Thanks, mate.
No worries, cheers.
That's fun.
Better get that one sorted. Daniel wasn't the only big name to exit the kennel, with Bailey Smith joining Geelong and Jack McRae heading to St Kilda. Well, the battle between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris for the Formula One Championship has taken another nasty turn. The Red Bull driver again forcing his rival off the track at today's Mexico Grand Prix.
After last week's drama between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, this felt like deja vu.
And for the second week running, Lando Norris has to go off the track.
Not once, but twice. Verstappen found the McLaren car off the track. It earned the Red Bull driver a 20-second penalty.
It's also not about agreeing or disagreeing about the penalty. The only thing is 20 seconds. It's quite a lot.
Ferrari's Carlos Sainz crossed the line first in Mexico, while Australia's Oscar Piastri was back in 8th. The championship battle between Norris and Verstappen now at boiling point with only 4 races left. Arsenal and Liverpool couldn't be separated after 90 minutes, battling it out in a 2-all draw.
Mo Salah must be! He does it again!
While Manchester United's poor start to the season continued with a 2-1 loss to West Ham. In the NFL, with no time left on the clock, Washington trailed Chicago before the Commanders threw everything they had at the win.
Here comes the Hail Mary with the game on the line. And the ball is caught! Caught! It's a miracle!
Washington winning by 3 points. And there's been plenty of statue stuff-ups over the years, and today another one was added to the list. Former Miami Heat star Dwayne Wade was immortalised in bronze after a stellar career with the Heat, although many aren't exactly sure it's a spitting image of the 3-time NBA champion.
Who is that guy?
Trent Neese, 9 News.
Not an image in his likeness.
Awkward though, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the sentiment that counts. Is that what they say?
It's there forever though.
Yeah, it's not right.
No, not
Thanks
great.
so much, Roddy. We'll catch you tomorrow. Take a look at finance now. The market is holding its breath ahead of key economic data on Wednesday. While yet another famous Australian retailer has gone bust. Here's finance editor Chris Kohler.
This is the week of inflation. On Wednesday, we'll see the CPI figures for the September quarter, which will be absolutely crucial. A strong number, and you can kiss goodbye any hope of an RBA rate cut this year. Because there's no meeting in January, that means February at the earliest. The market is expecting inflation to drop, but energy rebates will cloud the picture, so the detail will be important. With all that going on and the US presidential race entering its final stages, the Aussie dollar is at its lowest level in 10 weeks. As for the share market, a steady day. It's been like this since mid-last week. Investors really waiting for that inflation data before making moves. That said, Paladin Energy collapsed as it struggles to get approval to buy a Canadian mine. Off the market, and retailer Mosaic Brands, which owns Noni B and Rivers, among others, officially appointed receivers today.
Thank you, Chris. Well, stunning spring weather this week. Jessica has the full forecast right after the break.
For the time being, here's tomorrow's speed cameras.
Wake up and laugh with Adelaide's #1 breakfast show.
Rudits and Loz tomorrow on 104.7 Triple M.
For the latest Adelaide news and traffic.
Hello again. Well, the sun's out, the Christmas tree is up in Victoria Square, and we're feeling festive with a big, I think it's fair to say, a welcoming of the silly season in Adelaide this week. Just 5 sleeps to go until the Christmas pageant rolls through the city streets here, ending at the new location of Gawler Place in Rundle Mall. And haven't we got a cracking forecast for the week to come as well? I'll take you through it. Today we got to around 23, 24 degrees in the city. It's cooled off a bit now. It's around 19 degrees in the CBD. And then around the suburbs, we just saw temperatures looking pretty easy, lifting into the 20s, at the low 20s in most cases at Elizabeth today, and then it was 23 at Mawson Lakes and Noarlunga. Warm and dry across our north in the low 30s from Coober Pedy to Woomera, then 20 degrees at Port Lincoln. Temperatures did vary as we moved across the state from a warmer 27 at Renmark down to 18 degrees at Mount Gambier today. It's a high pressure system in front and centre on the charts there, drifting east and warming things up over the next couple of days as it does so. Interstate tomorrow, Sydney and Canberra are both sitting in the 20s. Sydney partly cloudy and 23, and Canberra a mostly sunny 25 degrees in store. Back to South Australia, and temperatures are on the rise, and as that sun comes out, we're lifting up into the 30s from Coober Pedy up to through to Port Augusta, and the high 20s for Port Pirie and Clare. Dry, sunny conditions are extending to Renmark with 29, plus Nurayutpa, Maitland and Murray Bridge all headed for 27. On metro waters, east to southeasterlies around 10 knots, tending southwesterly 10 to 15 knots in the middle of the day. And look at all of that sun around Adelaide tomorrow. It will be warmer than today. Elizabeth stretching up to 27. Golden Grove 26 and Marion at 25. In the city, we're going for that top of 25 degrees with partly cloudy and dry conditions tomorrow. They're warming up further to 27 degrees on Wednesday. For Halloween on Thursday, 24 degrees during the day, and mostly important to know that it's looking to be a dry night. And then, of course, the other big day on the forecast there is Pageant Day. The countdown is on. It's looking to be a warm one, 33 degrees. Kate and Brenton, I know you're going to be joining me there. Hopefully Father Christmas doesn't get too hot. It's a lot be warmer than the North Pole, that's for sure.
He'll be in his shorts and T-shirts this year, that's for sure. Jessica, thank you. That's our bulletin for this Monday. Thanks for your company.
More updates will follow a current affair. Then 9's Late News is at 11 tonight. Enjoy your evening.
Good night.